Welcome on in, everybody. It is another episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Whelen Engineering. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. Inside MRN HQ, pit reporter Chris Wilner, MRN announcer Kyle Rickey out at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Kyle, another week down. Our final weekend together was this past one out at the Milwaukee Mile with the ARCA Menard Series and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. What do you think, Kyle? Did you like Milwaukee? We didn't really get to debrief after that, but cool to be back at the Milwaukee Mile. Such an old racetrack, one of the oldest in the country, to get NASCAR back there.
It had been 14 years since I had been to the Milwaukee Mile, and I know the ARCA Menard Series started to go back there a couple of years ago. It was great to see the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series back on that 1 mile, such a historic facility for motorsports in this country. I thought it was a great weekend or a great day. We were there for a full day of doubleheader racing on Saturday with the ARCA Menard Series and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. I thought it was a good crowd for a single day event. The midway was packed. You had that fairgrounds atmosphere. It was really cool. I thought the racing was great for both divisions, and look forward to hopefully going back there.
Yeah, the only thing missing was the kettle corn stand was not open, and I am a sucker for State Fair kettle corn. So maybe we can work with Milwaukee and get that thing opened up next year. I don't know. What do you think? But we saw great racing, of course, coming up on the show. We'll talk about the ARCA Menard Series, the ARCA East double with William Sawalich getting his third East win of the year as he pads that championship lead in the East Series going into the final race at Bristol. Oxford 250 was this weekend. Of course, I wasn't there, but saw the highlights. Incredible racing once again, and we crowned another two-time winner. Championships, speaking of, are starting to be crowned a little bit. Bowman Gray Stadium already wrapped up its 2023 season. Hard to believe that we're already at that point, Kyle, as we near the end of August. So we'll start talking about that. And, of course, our guest this week is our first-time winner in 5 years for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and that's Kyle Bonsignore. Great interview coming up with Kyle about his win and his season. But let's start with looking at our past weekend of racing, and we will start with the Milwaukee Mile and the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East Sprecher 150. William Sawalich, as I mentioned, third win of the ARCA East season, his second ARCA Menard Series win. Dominant car, Kyle, but I'm more impressed of the way he handled the multi-restart challenges from Jesse Love. Obviously, we know Jesse's just pulled away in the ARCA Menard Series Championship with his 9 wins, but Jesse threw some haymakers. There was some contact, but William fought off like he was a seasoned veteran, didn't he?
And we talked about it during the broadcast. If anybody was going to beat William Sawalich on Saturday afternoon, it was going to have to be on a restart. And restart after restart, Jesse Love would get the jump, and he would lead up the back straightaway and even lead a couple laps, but he could never maintain. William just had the strong car, especially once they got 2 or 3, 4 laps into a run. But if you're going to get him, Jesse had the opportunity several times and took advantage of it more times than not, but just couldn't hang on. A great run for William Sawalich, who continues to extend his lead in the East standings. Just one race to go there, and showing well on the national side as well, picking up a big win with a very healthy field at the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, it was. We even had Sean Hingorani, of course, leading the West Championship involved. Another good run for him, tying his career best with the National Series with a third-place finish. You mentioned the points, 20-point lead now for Sawalich heading into Bristol over Luke Fenhaus, who struggled out of the favorites going in. I want to say struggled is really a bad thing. He finished 6th, but I know he was looking for more. Had a little bit of contact with Connor Jones, who had a good run for the Venerini Motorsports camp. Those two had words after the race, but for Fenhaus, 6th place means he's going to have to go into Bristol, probably win the thing, and maybe have a little bit of help to get the championship. But also pretty cool, Kyle, 3rd straight year that a Gibbs car won at Milwaukee Mile. Of course, last year technically was under the KBM banner, but at that Toyota Camry, first it was Ty Gibbs, it was Sammy Smith last year, and of course, Sawalich winning this year. So good stuff from Milwaukee. Again, the ARCA Menard Series ripping and rolling here as we get to the final stretch run to the season. Cole Butcher, that's a name that we've talked about on the show before. He is now a 2-time Oxford 250 champion and the first Canadian to be a 2-time winner of the event. That happened over the weekend on Saturday. The Nova Scotia driver, he does it, and again, it was a great race, Kyle. A stacked field full of names that are used to being at the front, but Cole just put it to him when it mattered.
Yeah, 41 cars took the green flag. A great race, not a whole lot of incidents, not a whole lot of controversy. It was a good run or good race start to finish. holding off the likes of, and I know some of these names we mentioned a week ago with DJ Shaw and Johnny Clark and Gabe Brown, all finishing there among the top 5. So a good run, back-to-back wins now for Cole Butcher, one of the biggest events in this part of the country all year when it comes to the full-bodied stock cars up in northern New England. And good run for Cole. No big surprises there.
No, except he also had to come from the back too. He spun on lap
Well,
7.
yeah, then there's that.
Had to go through the field. That was contact with Jimmy Renfro. So, and a shout out to Joey Doran as well. I think I'm pronouncing that right. 41st to 2nd. We crown hard Chargers in different series, but I mean, one step short of dead last to the win. I mean, that would definitely have overshadowed any of the storylines, but you got to give him credit because that's hard to do at a place like the Oxford Plains Speedway.
Yeah, and not a lot of cautions to play with either. They did a lot of it mostly under the green flag. Both of those drivers that finished first and second, you mentioned coming from the back, they had fast race cars, got caught up in some early race incidents, especially our race winner, Cole Butcher. But they worked traffic to their advantage, came up through the field, finished first and second, in front of a great crowd, by the way. I know Mother Nature affected the start of the weekend, really compressed Saturday and Sunday's race program, but they got it all in front of a near capacity crowd there at Oxford Plains.
Certainly did. Congratulations again to Cole Butcher. Brandon Ward is now your new modified champion at Bowman Gray Stadium, the first of kind of our big racetracks closing the 2023 season. It seems early, Kyle. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking it's earlier than it really is, but I feel like they're always one of the first to close their season. But congratulations to Brandon, a longtime racer there at Bowman Gray. I know we're used to talking about the Burt Myers and the Tim Browns, but Brandon put a really good season together and is deserving of that championship.
He is. And, I don't want to say he lucked into it at the end of the night. He just stayed out of the controversy because Tim Brown had the championship all but sewed up with 3 laps to go. And then Junior Snow decided that he was going to wreck Tim under the caution flag after contact under the green flag on the racetrack. And then Tim could not continue in the event after not 1 but 2 incidents under the caution and red flag. Junior was going to make sure that Tim was not going to continue in the event. And that ultimately led to Brandon picking up his first Bowman Gray championship.
I understand that the Madhouse is, it's deemed the Madhouse because of things like that. And we have a big crowd that shows up looking for the drama and the sparks. Yeah. But when it comes to championship night, Kyle, does Junior Snow can that not wait till maybe the first race of next year? I mean, to ruin a guy the chance at a championship because of maybe an on-track beef that could be settled later. What are your thoughts on that?
At most racetracks across the country, yes, that would be the mentality for most of the drivers. I think down there, because it is the Madhouse and because it's a different culture of racing or a different mindset, I think the mindset there was, this is the perfect time to take them out and take them out of the championship because that's what happens here at Bowman Gray Stadium. If I can't, and I'm not going to be able to get to him under green, so the field is stopped on the front stretch. Watch this. I'm just going to drive up and over his left front and just completely take him out of a shot at continuing the final 3 laps of the event. And that's after the contact that happened under the caution flag. So I guess that was the perfect time. But yes, at most facilities across the country, you would step away from that championship battle.
And that goes back to, is it too much of a show versus racing? We'll, of course, dive into that, topic throughout the next year as well, because Bowman Gray is done for 2023. We look forward to kicking off their season again next spring. Now, before we get to our guest, Kyle Bonsignore, who is joining us on the phone, let's talk about his win, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, again, amidst a pretty hectic schedule here in the late summer, I guess, early fall portion of the year. Winning at Langley ends a 58-race winless streak dating back to your track right behind you at Stafford back in 2018. He gets it done over Austin Beers, who was the dominant car, but he had to put on a good move there with 5 laps to go, Kyle. It was pretty impressive the way he got it done.
Yeah, using lap traffic to his advantage to move around Austin Beers, who dominated the race, won the pole, led the first 145 of the 150 laps at Langley. Made a nice move to the inside over in turns 3 and 4, was able to take the top spot and really drive away. Austin couldn't get back to him to to have a shot at maybe one final pass in the closing laps. But another good run for Austin Beers. We've talked about him all season long, part of the championship battle, very much a factor at perhaps winning his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour championship. But for Kyle Bonsignore, you mentioned his first win in a long time, 5 years since he won the fall final here at the Stafford Speedway back in 2018.
Absolutely. A good win for Kyle, and he is joining us on the other side of the break. We'll talk about his win, his season, and obviously don't forget his cousin is in the fight for the championship, Justin Bond, as well. We'll talk about all that stuff coming up next on the flip side of the break. This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
By Whelen Engineering. Joining us over the phone, it is your most recent winner in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, ending a 58-race winless streak. It is Kyle Bonsignore, driver of the number 22 machine. Kyle, congratulations. It's been a few days. What's it been like finally being called a winner again after nearly 5 years since your last trip to Victory Lane?
You know, I never would have done the math on the number of days and the number of races, but NASCAR Roots definitely that was a slap of reality, seeing that stat getting pulled up on Monday morning. But it feels good. You know, it just shows how hard it is to have the perfect day in this series, especially when you got teams like, you know, Hirschman's not there right now, but Matt's team and the 64, the 51, the 16, they win, you know, multiple times. It just shows how hard it is to get to that point. So it feels good. It definitely is a huge weight off because some of the guys on my team have been there since the last win, and it's just like, when is this going to work out? But then a lot of them are newer, and to get that first win for them, including my crew chief Cam McDermott, that's huge. So it feels great. It's really what we needed, especially with the schedule, the way that it works out, having the next 3 weeks in a row. So hopefully we can roll into Oswego with some momentum this weekend.
You mentioned Cam McDermott. I feel like he is everywhere, working with many teams up here in the Northeast. He works at our karting program at the Stafford Speedway on Monday night as the race director. How did that relationship come to be with you two?
So yeah, you're right, man. He does a lot. And between working on the Woody Pitcat, you know, the Dunleavy car and our car, we keep him busy. So we started talking at the end of the 2021 season. And then we put something together, and luckily it worked out because right from 2021 into 2022 is when like gas prices and travel and everything just skyrocketed. So all of my equipment, so my cars, my truck, trailer, everything is kept at his shop in Connecticut, which makes it extremely easy for the majority of the races of the season. And he does all the maintenance on the cars. He does everything. And it's been working out really well. So we started talking at the fall final, the last one that they had there for the tour at Stafford. And then the team that he was on, which I think that was the last race that Woody ran on the tour with that team, was, you know, done. And I asked him what his plans were for the next year. So it kind of worked out where we needed somebody and he didn't have anywhere to go. So it worked out. And it's worked really well. So we've had great performances.
Yeah, and he's got your hot rod dialed in. Of course, you know, tons of top tens this year. But walk me back to this past weekend. Austin Beers seemed to be the dominant car, but they're late in the race. You were just stalking him, and then with 5 to go, got around him with the nice move there. So walk me through how you set up that pass for the win, because it seemed like you were there, but obviously you don't want to rush the issue. You want to make sure you get a good look at it there toward the end.
Yeah. So with the way that they had the race layout with that caution, like somewhere around lap 90, the competition caution, before that, and we knew we had a really good car on the long runs from our practice speeds. But before that, we had a really good closing rate, like the last 20 laps of that 87 or 85 lap run. And after seeing that, and I wasn't really pushing the issue, so we knew what adjustments we had to make the car better. And unfortunately, at Langley, if you're on the outside, you're just at a huge disadvantage on the restart. So I lost a spot on the restart, but I knew I had a really good car. So I got past the number 3 car right away, back to second. And I realized, like, I need to keep the pressure on the 64, maybe get him to use his equipment up, because that track is pretty abrasive on tires. So I kept it close enough. And where I saw the biggest advantage was when we had to go to the outside on the lap cars. I could close a lot because my car was really great on the outside. It was good on the bottom, but it was really good on the outside compared to his. So late in the race, obviously you get a lot of lap traffic, and I saw 4 or 5 lap cars coming up, and I was only about a car and a half from him. So I knew that was going to be my opportunity. I almost went a little bit too quick when we were lapping the 26 car with like 7 to go. And that probably would have been a huge mess. So I'm glad I didn't do it. But the next lap, I really I got in the right spot. The timing was good. So I saw the opportunity down the front stretch, and he made me work for it. He squeezed me on the bottom into turn 1. And so, which I get, I would have done the same thing with 5 to go. And luckily, like I said, my car was really good on the bottom. So I just had a much better run on exit and was able to get fully next to him down the backstretch and complete the pass the following corner. So
You mentioned the track abrasive on tires. At what point during the day do you learn or realize how you need to manage your tires through practice and the race?
Well, for us, we actually kind of learned that real early. So with the rules on the tour right now, you get a certain amount of tires you can use, and you try and bank them. So you have stickers at tracks that are really abrasive. Well, we didn't have any new tires. We started with old tires right away. And we didn't go out right away in practice, but we realized teams that had stickers on fell off tremendously in 10 laps. And we went out with tires that had 10 laps on them already, and we were a lot faster than most of them, and really close to actually the only team that seemed to be really close and have the same amount of fall off was the 64. Some guys could run a really fast lap but couldn't back it up 5 laps later. So that was we knew the 64 was going to be tough all day, and we got our car driving as good as I thought we could. And then we, just did a mock run for our qualifying run. And then that was it. We had by far the least amount of practice time in the top 5. I think we only ran 19 or 20 laps, but we did most of that on old tires to get a really good feel for it. And that track changes so much from daytime to nighttime, because it was like 90 degrees during the day and sunny. And as soon as the sun goes down, it picks up a ton of grip. Not a ton. It picks up some grip, but it's a lot more than you have at any other point. So trying to keep up with that, and just conserve as best you could, because you got 3 tires coming, but you want to make sure that you've got enough everywhere else for the end of the race is tough. And that track, you're carrying a lot of speed, but you don't feel like it because it's so wide and it's flat, and it gives you a very false sense of I'm not going to use up my tires, running this fast, and then 10 laps later there's no right rear left. So it's really tricky.
So you win the race, you come down to victory lane. I think I read on Flow Racing that it didn't really hit you until you got the winner sticker to put above the door, that signifies that you're a race winner. But what were the emotions that followed? Did you feel like maybe over the last couple of years, like, is this ever going to happen again? Was it a big relief for you? I know you got emotional there in victory lane. Last time you were in victory lane was actually at the track directly behind Kyle Rickey's shoulder there at Stafford. So just describe what that felt like there once it hit you that you won the race.
It felt great. It was, I guess the best word to use was, it was gratifying, because we had, I don't know how many, I think we've had 3 or 4 second place finishes over the last few years. And like last year in New Hampshire, we lost by like 3 feet. It's just, We've been so close so many times, and you really do start to question, like, what is it, me? Is it the initial setups that we're starting with? Are we approaching practice wrong? What's going on? And you try and work all those things out, and it takes a long time. But it just felt like, okay, so we're doing the right thing. It just getting it all to work out at the same time was our issue. I think over the last 5 races, we've had really good cars, but we've had some really just trivial stuff happen during the race that you would never expect, and it just hinders those finishes. So it just felt really good. To be able to put it all together, have a really solid day from start to finish. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I wish, I mean, unfortunately, with how hot it is in August at Langley and everything, and I have 2 really young kids, and then my 13-year-old at home. So having them at the track all day outside wasn't ideal. So I wish my wife and kids were there. That's kind of why I got choked up. But that's the only thing that would have made it absolutely perfect. So they're coming to a few of the races now, because we actually moved back to North Carolina about 3 weeks ago. So they'll be at Martinsville, they'll be at Wilkesboro. So hopefully we can put it back in Victory Lane, because those will be home races for me, which would be really nice. I can sleep in my own bed. So.
Yeah, a lot of races still to come on the tour, still 6 to go, beginning with Oswego this weekend. You have momentum on your side right now, a top 5 run there a year ago. Thoughts about going to Oswego this weekend, and can this momentum kind of carry over into Oswego this Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of things that we've learned. We did a pretty good overhaul on our chassis this off season. So there are some things that we improved, which are a direct result of what we fought at tracks like Oswego last year and Langley. So I think we'll be better off the trailer there. I'm really excited to get back. I never really liked going to Oswego because I had a really bad experience there in a USAC Ford Focus midget. But now I'm ready to go there and just get to the track, get unloaded, get practice done, and I think we're going to be really good. I think we're going to be better than we were last year. So if we could just improve a couple spots, we'll be talking next Wednesday, hopefully.
There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I got a question for you. This is the first time I get to talk to you. What is the relationship with you and your cousin Justin? Obviously, both competitive. I'm sure you guys, especially when you're next to each other on the racetrack, maybe get a little aggressive with each other. But over the last several years, watching what he's done since that first win, he had 19 race wins and 3 titles until we got to this point. So do you ever compare yourself to him, or what's that relationship like, especially over the last 5 years?
Well, I mean, so my cousin and I, he's 10 months older than me, and he's basically like, I've got 2 sisters, so he's the brother that I never had. But we've raced against each other a lot in the past, and it's hard to compare yourself to him, especially, I mean, to this point, I think he's been on the tour for like 12 years or 15 years, something crazy like that. He's been doing it a long time. So he's just got so much more experience in every aspect of, running this series than me. I'm just trying to get to that point. It's really hard. You learn so much every time you're on the track about how to approach certain situations and other drivers and lap traffic. And, I mean, just look at he's got more race wins than I have like starts at Thompson. So, you go to a track like that. So, but no, I mean, I talk to him every day. When we were kids, we would, super competitive when we, rode bicycles together, played video games. It was like World War III if, somebody took somebody else out on those. So, but no, he's done a lot to help me and, tell me like, hey, like the first time that we went to Bristol, when we still went to Bristol, he came over right away and was like, do this, don't do this. So anytime he could drop a piece of advice that doesn't give me a distinct advantage over him, he will help me out. And his team is great. His crew chief, Ryan, anytime that they can, lend a hand, they will. Like when we wrecked at Thompson a few weeks ago, they came over and said, hey, if you need anything to get that car back out on the track or whatever, take it from our pit cart. So, but no, he's great. Like I said, he's like a brother to me. And, it's really fun to race against him because I put him and like Ronnie Silk and even, the 64 car in the same category where they are really fast seemingly everywhere we go. They race you hard, but they race you fair. If you lean on them, they'll lean on you, but they won't go overboard. So it's really good to have that kind of agreement on the track, because there's not a whole lot of guys you can do that with. So, but no, my cousin, I hope to get to half as many wins as he's got one day. That'd be great. But we're starting off on the right foot for the rest of this season. So.
Absolutely. Always good to have somebody like that in your corner, especially when they're family. My final question for you, want to kind of characterize the season. Top 5 in points, almost 2 handfuls of top 10s, pair of top 5s. Are you guys where you want to be at this stage? Solid run, obviously, coming off a win.
I'd be lying to you if I said, yeah, we're where we want to be. We always want to be better.
Sure.
In all reality, at this point last year, I think we had a string of like 4 top 5s in a row. And, we really thought we'd be able to just carry that through the rest of the year. And then we got into that incident with Blewett and McKennedy at Martinsville, and that spoiled that finish. And we had gotten wrecked at the Riverhead, the fall race at Riverhead last year, and we were running 3rd when that happened. So it spoiled that finish. So it got kind of rocky at the end of last year, but we thought we'd be able to unload and, have really great runs earlier this year. And some of that trivial stuff that, you'd never think would happen kind of bit us. And we addressed it, we fixed it. And now you're starting to see the results of correcting those issues. So hopefully we can have a really good top 5 span here over the next 6 races. And I know it's going to be really hard to gain any more spots in points, especially with what we got going on. I think the only one that's really attainable is Doug, because they're done for the season. So, but it looks like if we have some incredible finishes, maybe we'll have a shot at 3rd, but that's a long stretch. So I'm just glad that we got speed out of the car. We're consistent. Everyone's kind of clicking on the team as far as our race day procedures. So if we can finish the season strong, it'll just be that much better of an ending or a beginning to 2024.
Before we let you go, on this show, we've had a lot of kids, making their first national appearances in different series and kind of hearing their hopes and dreams. But for a guy like you, who's 34 years old, who's, continuing to just improve each and every week, each and every year in the modified tour, what are your goals for your career? Where would you like to be next year or 2-3 years from now? I mean, what's kind of driving Kyle Bonsignore at this point?
In all reality, I have my own business that I'm running right now. I'm taking a break on Zoom, but I'm here on my Snap-on truck, working away. But my goal is at this point next year to be in contention for a championship. I have really, I'm not going to say if someone said, hey, if you want to drive my, Craftsman truck, I'm going to say no, but I don't think that's going to happen, but I want to win modified races. I want to win a modified championship. That'd be the goal for me. I mean, I've got, 3 young kids, a 4th one on the way. So I don't really have any aspirations to go any higher up. I'm in a good spot right now. So if I can just be competitive, I know my career is not going to go forever. So I'm getting on the backside of it. So if I could just win more races, the goal is to win a championship, obviously at the beginning of every season. If I can get to that point, that'd be amazing for me. So.
Well, good deal. Well, early congratulations on the 4th one coming. You're going to have your hands full if you don't already. But
yeah, well, the first 3 are girls, so
oh yeah,
we don't know what this one's going to be yet. We're going to wait, find out the day of. So.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it. Surprises. Good stuff. Well, Kyle, congratulations again over the win this weekend. Best of luck. I know this is a daunting stretch, for the tour, obviously, just with the amount of races, not only this year, but we're kind of in that 3 or 4 in a row. So best of luck to you and your team. Get some rest, and we'll hope to catch up with you down the road.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's Kyle Bonsignore, your big winner out at Langley. Again, the modified tour back in action this Saturday at Oswego. Coming up next, we'll look at the calendar plus some news and notes before we wrap up this week's episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast. Stay tuned.
Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelan products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelan Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Welcome back into NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelan Engineering. Just wrapped up our conversation with Kyle Bonsignore, and Kyle, oh man, what a good win for him, but I think he's not done. I think Oswego, he can go back-to-back. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of momentum on his side right now. He said he's now comfortable with Oswego, getting over that former wreck that he had there years ago as a youngster. Loves that racetrack, top 5 a year ago, like we mentioned. So I think he can get it done. He has momentum on his side right now, and that's, part of the equation when it comes to winning these races.
That's right, and that race is coming up Saturday at 7:30 on Flow Racing. So let's dive into it real quick with the championship, Kyle. We're back down to 1 point. Ronnie Silk is just hanging on by the hair on his chinny chin over Justin Bonsignore, of course, Kyle's cousin that we alluded to during the interview. I mean, it's literally been neck and neck now for what, 5-6 weeks, if not more.
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody have an advantage, or are we going to see somebody like a Kyle Bonsignore, somebody that hasn't been in the winning conversation, maybe steal the party here this weekend?
Yeah, and I think Kyle alluded to it a moment ago. He's going to need some help. It's going to be tough to catch Ron, Justin, Austin. Beers good, running third in the championship standings, not too far out of the championship picture. Doug Kobe still in fourth, but like he mentioned, done for the season. At least that team is done for the season. We continue to think of Tommy Baldwin and his recovery. But I think it's down to 3 right now. Ron Silk, Justin Bonsignore, both former champions. Austin Beers looking for his first title, and if he can string together some good runs here the next couple of weeks, he can certainly be a factor beginning this week at Oswego.
Yeah, again, a battle of attrition, too, for the series as they continue to go back here at this point of the season. Oswego next up for the Toyota Mod Classic 150. Again, you can watch that race on Flow Racing Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern. Before we get to the ARCA Menard Series, Kyle, one news and note. Again, we are kind of amidst a weird weather time with Darlington on the NASCAR schedule back in South Carolina. And, of course, the hurricane season is upon us. And as we speak right now, we're dealing with, I believe it's still a hurricane, tropical storm, or Hurricane Idalia, with the impact of that going to be felt in the Carolinas around Wednesday, Thursday. So as this show airs, they decided to move one of the big precursors to the South Carolina 400, actually the only one. It's almost a qualifying race. We're talking about the Marty Ward Memorial Locked In 150 at Florence. It's now going to be run on Friday, September 1st, and there's a lot of people not on the normal late model list that we're accustomed to seeing entered, including Chase Briscoe is going to take part in that as well on the late model race Friday night before he goes to Darlington. Raja Caruth is entered as well. Kyle, it's not only for a big money prize, they are entered to, if you win the race, be the pole sitter for the South Carolina 400. So should draw a pretty good crowd there on Friday.
Yeah, right now, 27 cars on the entry list. You mentioned some of the big names of Briscoe, Raja Caruth, Brendan Queen will be there, Connor Zilich, Stephen Nasse, former Myrtle Beach Speedway dominator, Sam Yarborough. I feel like in the early years of this show, we were talking about Sam week in and week out when Myrtle Beach Speedway was running weekly. He was at the front of the field. He will be there, and I think is one of the favorites. And yeah, you're right. The winner guaranteed that pole position for the Big 400 later this fall.
Yeah, and in that race in November always draws 50+ cars. So if they're fighting for 20 spots, you kind of want that guaranteed spot in, and of course the shot at the polls. So big race again on Friday. That was rescheduled from Wednesday this week, so you still have time to catch that again Friday night at Florence. Now let's go on to the ARCA Menard Series again amidst their big stretch with, I believe, 4 in a row as well. They are back on the dirt with the Southern Illinois 100 at DuQuoin, the big mile out there. Again, they were at Springfield just about a week and a half ago. That is Sunday night on Flow Racing. Brent Cruz, Kyle, we had him on the show last week talking about his Springfield win. and of course, just the success he's had over the year. He's going to go for an extra cash prize to make it $34,000 if he can sweep both dirt races. What do you think? Can he go back to back on the dirt?
I think if anybody can do it, it's Brent Cruz. He looked so good a couple of weeks ago at Springfield. DeCoin, little similar this week. Obviously, the only other dirt race on the ARCA Menard Series schedule. Jesse Love going to be a factor as well, along with Andres Perez, second in the championship standings, looking to make up some ground here. It'll be interesting to see the field size. They had a great car count a couple of weeks ago, over 20 cars at Springfield. I hope they get the same this Sunday at DeCoin. But like you mentioned a bit ago, another long stretch for the ARCA Menard Series as they have just a few races to go in their season. I think just 4 races to run for them. So getting down to it, 5 races to go, including this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't seen the entry list yet, but Ryan Unzicker was your most recent winner last year.
Yep.
Jesse did finish second, so maybe looking for some redemption on the dirt again. That is Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time on Flow Racing. And our final McNational Series competing is Kyle's favorite, the NASCAR Pinty Series at CTMP, which is such a cool racetrack, having been there with IMSA. That is Sunday afternoon on Flow Racing. Trayton Lapsovich with a 38-point championship lead. They just have, Kyle, 2 races to go. So I'll ask you this question. Can Antoine Cameron make a run at it, or is 38 points kind of something where unless Trayton has a complete meltdown over the next 2 weeks, he should be okay for the title?
Yeah, I think Trayton should be okay for the title. Again, it depends on field size, and usually when they go to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, they get upwards of 28 to 30 cars, and if Trayton, say, has an issue, he can lose all of that ground in one race. So we'll see. That's one racetrack that I miss going to. We used to run that event in combination with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series years ago, as early as 4 years ago. Great facility, a great course for the Canadian Tire or for the NASCAR Pinty Series at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So many passing zones, a lot of high-speed sections. They are fun to watch. They go there twice a year, kind of a staple track for the series. And but yeah, I think Trayton, all he has to do is finish these next 2 weeks or next 2 races, and he'll be okay for the championship.
And CTMP always puts on a show, whether it's Pinty's
It
or
does.
different trucks. It always seems to come down to the end, and we've had fisticuffs, we've had bump and runs. So stay tuned for the latest chapter of CTMP again when the Pinty Series visits there Sunday. And you can watch that on Flow Racing. Some weekly racing coming up this weekend on your calendar. We'll roll through it. Smart Modifieds at Carteret County on Saturday. If you are a dirt fan, obviously with the ARCA Menard Series at DeCoin on Saturday, before the ARCA Menard Series takes the track, it's the Ted Horn 100 for the Silver Crown Series, and open wheel cars on the mile at DuCoin is something to watch. If you haven't seen it, check it out on Flow Racing. Kyle, Ricky, you've got the late model 50 at Stafford coming up on Friday night. What can we expect with that one?
Yeah, we got the Paradiso Insurance 50 lapper for the late model stock cars. Has been about a 24 car field all year. Guys like Tom Fern, Adam Gray, Wayne Corey Jr. will be battling for the race win. Kevin Gambacorta, the current championship point leader. So it's going to be a stacked field. Of course, they'll be joined by the SK Modifieds, the SK Lights, limited late models, and street stocks as well. Elsewhere in the region, Thunder Road, they have their big American Canadian Tour Labor Day Classic on Sunday. Oswego, we talked about the Modifieds going there. They have their International Classic on Sunday with the Super Modifieds. Berlin, Riverhead, Utica, Rome, all weekly shows, and a pretty special race down in your neck of the woods, Hickory Motor Speedway, the Bobby Isaac Memorial this weekend for the late models. Always a special event every year down at the Hickory Speedway for those teams.
It is. And every time we have a big race at Hickory, I feel like Mother Nature seems to try to spoil the party. We've got our fingers crossed. So far, so good with Adalia hopefully out of the system by the time we get to Saturday, but we'll have to wait and see. But of course, that one's a big one. I know a lot of people heading up to Hickory coming up on Saturday. All right, Kyle. Well, it's time to bid our listeners farewell for this week's episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast. It's been a good one. I know you're going to be busy out at Stafford. I will be down with the MRN crew at Darlington Raceway. Again, the MRN is back on the airwaves again with NASCAR Cup Series playoff opener for round number 1 of the season and of the postseason. Of course, the NASCAR Xfinity Series down there as well. It all begins Saturday 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Cup qualifying and practice, as well as 3 o'clock airtime for the NASCAR Xfinity Series Sport Clips Haircuts, Help a Hero 200, and then Sunday NASCAR Live Race Day begins at 5 p.m. Eastern, leading into the one of the crown jewels of the Cup Series season, the Cookout Southern 500. Should be a good one. It's my first time ever going down there as well, so looking forward to being a part of that. For our guest, Kyle Bonsignore, for my man Kyle Rickey, and of course our producer Pat Jaggers, my name is Chris Wilner. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. Enjoy your weekend of racing. We will discuss it all next week.